Hi everyone, this is Resa, and what this video will be about is how I make masks work for my cosplays, such as comfort, makeup, wigs, fabric covers, and tips from other people, such as dealing with facial hair. PPE, or personal protective equipment, is more important for cosplay than you may think it is. You might have dealt with dangerous crafting materials before, and almost all events are now back in person, and nearly all of them have removed health and safety protocols. Cosplay may be fun in games, but for anyone who has ever caught con flu or any other myriad of illnesses after an event, that is always unpleasant. Speaking from personal experience, and masks can help a lot. However, wearing a mask sometimes looks ugly, doesn't match your cosplay, ruins your makeup, ruins your wig, or is generally uncomfortable. Here are my tips and tricks, as well as tips from other cosplayers. I promise that the first half of this video will be as neutral and scientific as a guy with no science experience can make it. But the second half is based on my and other people's personal advice and experience, so there may be some bias. What this video will not be about is whether or not masks are good or bad. However, if you'd like to fight in the comments section, sure, why not? I'll take the engagement. Because somehow basic PPE has become controversial, and if you were alive for the past 5 years, you probably know why. Anyway, for everyone else who is here that just wants to make your experience better when wearing masks, stick around. You might get some good tips. Disclaimer, I am not a healthcare professional, and I have no healthcare experience, so please do not take any of this as medical guidance. However, I will quote and link to various scientific papers to best educate myself, and hopefully you can use them to make your own informed, risk-aware decisions. I am also happy to be corrected if any of this information is outdated or incorrect. This video is purely based on my experience as someone who needs to wear masks but still wants to be able to cosplay and have fun while staying safe. What masks should you wear? Let's start with the most effective down to the least effective. NIOSH full-face masks and hazmat suits are probably the most effective, but I imagine most normal people do not have access to them, nor do they go well with your cosplay. Half face piece respirators. These can be equipped with cartridges, which filter for 100%, 99%, or 95% of very small particulates, as well as vapors or gases. When looking at the cartridge labels, N stands for not resistant to oil, R stands for resistant to oil, and P stands for oil-proof. If you work with contact cement, plastidip, resin, spray paint, or other toxic materials, you probably already have this respirator, which is awesome because these kinds of masks can, surprisingly, match a lot of video games, sci-fi, or other characters. So this actually super effective respirator can also double as a mask that fits your cosplay. If the series you're cosplaying from already wears respirators, like The Last of Us, or Arcane, or steampunk and cyberpunk versions of characters, you can use this mask. Clear from Dramatical Murder, he canonically wears a gas mask, so I use my half-face respirator when wearing him in public. I personally find the silicone/rubber far more comfortable than itchy paper masks, but I also know acquaintances that do not like it. N95 respirator. This reduces the wearer's exposure to small particle aerosols and large droplets, but it is N rating and non-oil aerosols only. It filters out 95% of airborne particles, including large and small particles. This is what I use most often for wear when I need to leave the house. When going on public transportation or to conventions, I use an N95 and a mask cover. I also prefer the behind-the-head strap kind because I wear glasses with a lot of piercings and can't stand having that much stuff on my ears. KN95 and equivalent masks also go in this section. Double masking. Double masking is better than just a single surgical mask. For more information, you can check out this science paper. Single surgical mask. This protects from large droplets, but is not a reliable level of protection from smaller airborne particles. Cloth masks. Protects other people from your respiratory particles, so it's better than nothing, but is most effective when everyone else is also masking. Now some additional protection. Vaccines, social distancing, quarantining, regular testing, and just staying home and not going to an event when you're sick are also more layers of protection. Similar to using PPE when working with resin or contact cement, your health is more important than going to an event. And also some good news. Nasal vaccines are being developed in Europe. This will be great for people who aren't able to get injection vaccines. This is currently still under clinical trials, but this antihistamine nasal spray might have possible protection too. I've been using it for the pool when you can't wear a mask underwater, but this is not medical advice and not guaranteed to work yet. How to make masks more comfortable. For my N95 behind the head masks, I sometimes put band-aids on my nose as a cushion. I also use this moleskin tape and stick that to the mask. Sometimes I also put sunscreen or face lotion on my skin where the itchy parts of the mask touch, and that makes it feel a little better. However, don't put too much stuff between the seal and your face. That may break the seal and make it ineffective. For people that use over-the-ear masks, you can get different kinds of ear protectors. But here's a trick. I have taken garter belt garters and bra straps, and they function the same as the kind of ear protectors that pull the two straps behind your head. Makeup. First, I take notice of which parts of my face are still visible, as well as what parts a mask might rub off, such as these straps here. I skip any makeup in any of those areas, because no one is going to see it anyway, and getting makeup on the inside of your mask is just uncomfortable, as well as potentially making it less effective. I focus on my eyes and eyebrow makeup, and sometimes put concealer on my forehead. I'm not a makeup expert or artist, though, but I'm pretty happy that I'm still able to get makeup on without interfering with my health and safety. Here's some tips from some other cosplayers that I asked. MarlequinnCos says,
regarding preventing makeup rub-off with a mask, I do the same method that stops makeup from rubbing off on the nose pads of my glasses. I put a little bit of eyeshadow primer on the bridge of my nose where the mask touches it before I put on foundation, and that eliminates most of the transfer.
Diana Saray, at Silence Drowns, says, to help prevent makeup from rubbing off in your mask, it also helps to powder the mask where it contacts your skin. Tip I have for cosplays with masks, eye makeup is crucial. Practice that the most, and also consider trying to cover your brows and redraw on character-shaped brows. It really makes a difference when all you can see is nose bridge up. Also, you tend to need more blush, lol. Wigs. For masks with over-ear straps, it's fairly easy to wear and remove them when wearing wigs. However, because I prefer behind-the-head straps, they can be troublesome to wear or remove with a wig in the way. I have found a very good method, though. 1. Put on your wig cap and wig grip first. 2. Put the bottom strap of your respirator and mask cover if you're wearing one on next. 3. Put on your base wig, but not any accessories or ponytails/pigtails yet. 4. Put on the top strap of your respirator and or mask cover. 5. Then put on any other head accessories, including glasses if you're wearing glasses. The great thing with this method is that it's easy to remove the top half of your mask to drink water or eat something, but you don't need to remove your entire wig setup at the same time. I sometimes tuck it under my chin, behind my neck, or into my shirt, so that I don't drop food or water in my mask. This method works for me, but if you also wear masks with behind-the-head straps and have your own tips on wearing them with wigs, I'd love to hear them. Some wigs are also kind of slippery for the top strap. If you crimp your wig, that makes it easier to grip. Curly wigs or wigs with ponytails or spikes also help keep the top strap from slipping down. Mask covers. Another common complaint that I hear people say about masks, other than discomfort and messing up makeup, is that it looks ugly. Luckily, there are brands that make colored N95 masks, such as Bonafide masks, which have multicolored Powacom KN95s. And here's one that makes cat N95 masks. None of these are sponsored. If you want more than just another colored N95 mask, you can also get commercially made mask covers or make one yourself with different designs on them. Just know that fabric mask covers are not effective enough PPE for protecting yourself. Believe it or not, before the COVID pandemic, if you went to any convention dealer's hall or even looked online, especially amongst odorites and idols, a lot of people were already wearing fashion masks, aka mask covers. We can repurpose them or make our own to cover our actual PPE masks. When it comes to commercially made mask covers, almost all of them use over-ear straps. So I cut open the ear straps, attach an elastic to combine the bottom into a single strap, and then I make different options for the top strap. Sometimes I use snaps, sometimes I use the garter belt strap / bra strap trick, and sometimes it's just 2 strings tied together. When it comes to making my own cloth mask covers, I recommend using a pattern that is slightly bigger than the actual PPE mask you wear. If the mask cover fits your face perfectly, it might squash your PPE mask, making it ineffective or hard to breathe. If the cover is too big, it might accidentally end up looking like a bandana that covers your neck, too. I also recommend designing something that matches something about the character. For example, fangs for Grell and Gyarados, a steampunk aesthetic mask for Steampunk Vaporeon and Arcane, and Cookie from BT21 for BTS. Here are some other examples. For Faeliae's Ari, she used HTV to put her whiskers on her fabric mask cover. Facial hair. As someone without facial hair, I don't have first-hand experience. But according to some research, there's no way to guarantee an effective seal when you have facial hair in the areas where a mask needs to be sealed. Here are some blog posts and research papers you can check out. PAPR respirators don't require a facial seal at all, but they are expensive, noisy, and bulky. There is also the Sing Tata beard wrap method that Sikh healthcare workers developed. However, I asked some other cosplayers and people with facial hair about how they manage masks, and these were their suggestions. Anonymous says, so basically if you legit want a true seal on your face, you need to get rid of the beard or mustache. If you're not needing to be careful, you can still use a mask, but no, it won't really seal as much as you can if you don't have facial hair. Another thing is, with the mask and facial hair, the mask will constantly be sliding up as the hair is slick, so you'll be needing to pull it down a lot. Said maybe if you had a way to weigh the mask down, you wouldn't have to pull on it as much. This was true for all mask types. He found stuff that looped on the ears were more prone to give a problem. Ones that could loop behind your head or neck seemed to be best, and even better if you could tighten the straps versus just relying on elastic. He said the respirator was the best with a beard because it had a clip behind your neck and you could pull on the tabs. It uses a toggle pull so you could pull the ends to make it tight. Whimwitch says, for me, I just shave because I don't want a beard and I'm too patchy for one. I have no issues growing my sideburns and sometimes mustache out, so I just let myself have facial hair that doesn't get in the way of the seal if I want. And then I don't feel self-conscious at all about growing it out, since it's obscured anyway. The people I know that do have more facial hair and still mask usually just shave it enough to fit under the mask. So like having facial hair styles that accommodate a mask like a goatee or manicured beard. I think masking is helpful too if you're trans mask or a teen boy and just growing facial hair for the first time, because you can experiment with it without the prying eye of judgmental people. Underwater cosplays with masks. Admittedly, this part probably only applies to a very small select niche of people. Me. I did try to find recent articles on what was most effective protection while at pools, and the most relevant articles I was able to locate are these research papers. In summary, there is no way to swim with your head underwater and wear a mask because a soaked wet paper or fabric mask will be ineffective and make it impossible to breathe or even cause you to drown. However, I have found that you can swim with a pool floaty or a kickboard, and as long as you absolutely make sure to keep your head carefully above the water, your mask won't get soaked. For the times that I've done underwater photo and video shoots, they were private pools with everyone involved trying their best attempt at protection and testing beforehand and afterwards. Now that we've covered most of the tips that I have, let's go through an example of me putting on a cosplay specifically around the mask. Now, here are some bonus tips from other people. From Diana Saray, if I can say any one thing to cosplayers who want to mask in crowded areas, it's this. It makes a big difference to have both black and white masks, or colors if you can, and wear the one that looks better with your outfit. Dreaming of Cosplay says, I use the same tips and tricks that I use with masks in general, like those straps to make them more comfortable. I guess that is advice in and of itself. Use the tools you usually do to make masks as comfortable as you can. To fact check me, I have included a list of all sources in both my original blog post and in the description. And here's some questions people have asked me since the blog post. Diana asks, can you take off your mask for photos? This depends on your risk assessment, your situation, and what you value. Do you value full face pictures more than your health? Maybe you or your household are low risk and therefore it's safe enough for you not to need a mask in public. Or maybe you and your household are high risk and thus it is not safe. It really depends. I take off my mask for private underwater photo shoots, but that's because going underwater will make my masks useless anyway, and I'm more likely to literally drown if I cover my mouth and nose. But on land where I can wear a mask without drowning, I always keep it on if I'm around other people. I suppose if you're doing a photo shoot in the safety of your own home or taking selfies alone by yourself, there's no need to be protected there. Does anyone have additional tips, questions, or suggestions on wearing masks when cosplaying? Let's keep the comment section civilized and in good faith. And lastly, this was a beast of a video. It's probably the video with the most wonderful guests, several amazing voiceovers, and with more research compared to any other videos I've ever done. I feel like a sellout for saying this, but it would help a lot to share this to others, and maybe consider subscribing or checking out my coffee if you want. Thank you for watching.